Well, I've been at Skyline Alternate for 3 weeks, and Skyline Alternate is actually a really large alternate school. I think they have about 170 students, and they take care of a number of aspects. So they have the GROW program, which helps students get their grade 12s in a different setting than the regular classroom. So students work independently and they work at their own pace. And the grade 12 is really important because it's required for trades. And there's really wonderful opportunities up here for students to get involved in the trades. But if you don't have your grade 12 now, you can't take advantage of that. So it's really trying to help students get what they need to become successful. There's also work experience offered, and a lot of really great opportunities for students to learn more about job opportunities. There's usually support for resumes and cover letter writing, which is really great. But there's also adult education, which again helps students who don't have their grade 12 and who've been working in the trades for a while. They can go back to school and get their grade 12. There's a foods program, which is really awesome. So the foods program helps feed the elementary school behind Skyline, Marie Sharp, and they also feed the staff and students at Skyline. So there's a number of youth workers that help run the program, and students work in the program. They can get their food safe, they can get work experience, and there's a couple of students who've even graduated Skyline and are now employed by the foods program. So it's a really good opportunity for them. There's also distance education, which is for students in rural locations, like very, very rural, very remote, and it's usually online, so it helps them not have to leave home, because sometimes it's from a ranching family or something where the family isn't very mobile, and they can get their grade 12 that way. And there's also support for homeschooling through distributed learning. So there's teachers that make home visits. They check the students' work, they check progress, they offer resources. Well, we've been pretty busy here. One thing I've really enjoyed is working the foods program. I have a background in culinary, so it's been really nice to enjoy that with the students. There's also just the sense of community that a lot of students are really looking for, that they get to experience in this foods room, because it's more informal and they're working with their hands, and you kind of have the opportunity to chat and joke and laugh around, and I think that's really, really good for everybody. We've also had the opportunity to take some students on mini field trips. So one thing that Vitor and I did was take some students to the museum, and we kind of ran an informal activity there where students looked through the museum on their own and then found their favorite artifact and did a show and tell. It was a really fun experience for everybody. The students really enjoyed it, so that was nice. We also had the opportunity to meet a bank manager and arrange a meeting with some students. We went to RBC and we met with the manager in the boardroom, and the students came up with some questions and they talked to the manager just about basic financial questions, everything from how do I open an account to what are the benefits and the drawbacks to credit cards, and how do I get a loan? Even things like how do you get a job at the bank? What is the bank looking for to hire tellers? So some of the students were really interested in that. I think it's a good experience for them because money management and planning your finances is so important, but it's not really addressed directly in the curriculum. It's really nice to get the opportunity to create those opportunities for students. And it's definitely something I'd use again in my teaching practice. I think I learned a lot about just the different types of teaching in classrooms that are out there. First of all, the rural setting is something that's new, and there's just totally different challenges than the inner city experiences. So there's probably the same amount of challenges and benefits, but they're very different. I didn't know a lot about that, so it was a learning experience for me. It was also really interesting to learn more about things like distributed learning for homeschool, to learn about distance education. I find it's really fascinating how much technology can be a benefit for these situations, because there's teachers here that do the distance education that teach lessons online to students in maybe 4 or 5 different classrooms. So they get to see a PowerPoint, they can communicate with the teacher on microphone or through messaging. And so they still get that teacher support, even though they're still directed independently. And it's just a lot more efficient than having a teacher go out there. Like, they wouldn't have that opportunity otherwise. I think the alternate school is a little bit different than what I expected. I know here there's more of a focus on supporting students through community, definitely, but also students are very self-directed. So my experience with alternates in the Lower Mainland was that they're usually very, very small. And here it's a much larger operation. And I think I was really surprised to know how many different parts of the alternate there were. Because when I've done any volunteering with alternates in Vancouver, there's just maybe like 12 students or 20 students. And they kind of have a very set program. Whereas here it's a lot looser and students are really encouraged to take more responsibility. And because it's such a larger operation that doesn't just handle sort of the at-risk youth, but also handles the distance education, the homeschool, the foods program, like all of that is very different. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to find your way. But it is different than I expected based on a Vancouver alternate school. So that was interesting too, I guess, just to see how alternate education, doesn't really have one definition, but it really can encompass a lot of things and serve a lot of different purposes.